Okay, so what if the way we fundamentally understand time and space is incomplete?
Hmm.
Like, forget your daily schedule for a moment and just think, could we actually compress space and maybe, as a result, bend time itself?
Sounds like pure science fiction, right?
Exactly. But today we're actually going to dive into a very real attempt to grapple with this. It's a 2013 patent application.
Yeah, and it details a method for creating a space compression time dilation
A
machine.
space compression time dilation machine. Wow.
What's really fascinating about this patent, I think, is the core idea behind it. The inventor is basically saying, look, space and time aren't just static backgrounds.
Yep.
They're inherently wavy phenomena. That's the big assumption.
Wavy, like ripples on a pond.
Sort of. And if that's true, the inventor argues, well, compressing the three dimensions of space would inevitably cause the fourth dimension, time, to dilate.
Dilate, meaning slow down.
Right. Its waves would stretch out so time passes slower.
Okay, this wavy idea seems crucial. We need to unpack that. You know, our listeners want to get these complex ideas quickly, but like really understand them.
Definitely.
And I'm already sensing some potential aha moments here. So our mission for this deep dive is what? To break down the principles the inventor is using.
Exactly. Understand the principles, see how this machine is supposed to work, and maybe think about the implications, the potential, and the problems, probably.
Right. So where does the inventor even start with this?
Well, interestingly, they start by questioning something really fundamental, gravity.
Gravity. Okay. How so?
Instead of seeing gravity as this, attractive force like Newton's pull or Einstein's curved space-time,
Yeah.
this patent suggests gravity is actually a pushing pressure
A pushing pressure. From what?
from the fabric of the cosmos itself. That's the idea.
That's a totally different way of looking at it.
Yeah.
How do they explain that? Is there an analogy?
Yeah, they use a fluid analogy. Imagine space is like some kind of fluid.
Okay. Like the oak?
Kind of. Just like water pressure increases the deeper you go, the inventor suggests this space pressure exerts an equal downward force on any area at the same height in this cosmic fluid.
Mm-hmm.
And this pressure, acting on an object's cross-sectional area, is what we feel is gravity. But it's important, this is just an analogy, it's not literally water.
Right. A conceptual tool. But wait, if the pressure is uniform at a given height, how does that explain Galileo's finding? You know, that things fall at the same rate no matter their mass.
Good question. This is where it gets, quite clever, actually.
Okay.
The inventor says, yes, the pressure is uniform, but the force it exerts depends on the object's cross-sectional area.
So a bigger object gets a bigger push.
Exactly. A larger mass in this model takes up a larger effective area, so it feels a proportionally larger push from space. A smaller mass, smaller area, smaller push.
And because the force is proportional to the area, which is somehow related to mass in this view.
Right. The acceleration ends up being the same for everything. It cancels out. Space sort of deals with everything based on its area, right down to the tiniest possible scale, the Planck area.
That does kind of echo Einstein's elevator idea, doesn't it? Feeling pushed against the floor.
It does. That feeling of weight when the elevator accelerates up, you're pushing against space, and space pushes back. The inventor even gives a mathematical formula trying to link mass to space density and this Planck area.
Okay, so pushing gravity from space pressure.
Right.
Got it. Now, how does this wavy time fit in? We know time dilation happens, like with fast spaceships.
Right, Einstein's special relativity.
But how does this inventor make time itself wavy?
Okay, so the patent brings up that classic thought experiment, the light clock on a spaceship.
Yeah, light bouncing between mirrors.
Inside the ship, it just goes up and down.
Yeah.
Simple. But for someone watching from the outside as the ship moves.
The light path looks longer, diagonal.
Exactly. And since the speed of light is always constant for everyone.
That longer path means more time must have passed between ticks for the outside observer. So time on the ship seems slower.
Precisely. Standard time dilation. But here's the inventor's leap. They say the shape of that light path, that stretched out diagonal path, that reflects the actual fundamental shape of time itself. It's wavy.
Whoa, so time isn't just a line, it has a shape.
That's the idea. They even point to things like the moon's orbit, the Earth's year, as sort of natural time waves or distance waves, regular cycles showing time's wave-like nature.
Okay, that's a conceptual jump. Does it clash with other physics, like quantum field theory?
That's a really important point. Standard physics describes particles in, basically flat space-time, this idea of an inherently wavy time.
Yeah, reconciling that is a huge challenge the patent doesn't really address. It's definitely speculative.
Right. Food for thought, though. So, connecting this back, We have pushing gravity, wavy time. How do they link up with light, like gravitational redshift? Good connection. The patent talks about redshift, how light loses energy, its wavelength gets longer, redder as it climbs out of a strong gravity field.
Okay.
Remember the fluid analogy. Near the sun, space is denser or compressed, so the inventor suggests light waves traveling through it are also compressed. Higher frequency, blue shifted if moving towards the sun. As that light travels away towards Earth where gravity is weaker, space is less compressed, so the light waves expand, stretch out, lower frequency, redshifted.
And that stretching relates to time slowing down in strong gravity, which Einstein also predicted.
Exactly. The change in light's frequency is linked to the rate time passes. The inventor argues this fits their wavy time idea, the stretching of light waves leaving gravity.
It's like the stretching of the light path in the moving spaceship example.
Sort of analogous, yes. Both lead to redshift and slower perceived time, and the opposite, compression, leads to blue shift and faster time, relatively speaking.
Okay, I think I'm following the logic within this framework. Now, the absolute core of it, compressing space dilates time. How is that explained with these wavy concepts?
Right, the central claim. The patent uses a visual analogy. Think of space as the x-axis on a graph and time as the y-axis.
Okay.
The argument is if you press down on space, squashing the x-axis, then time has to stretch out along the axis to compensate. Like you're preserving some total amount of space-time.
Is there math for that?
Well, they point to the equations from special relativity. For time dilation and length contraction, they highlight the gamma factor.
That relativistic term.
Yeah, and how it shows an inverse relationship. When one dimension, space contracts from an observer's point of view, the other, time, dilates.
And the patent has diagrams for this, figures 1, 2, and 3.
It does. They try to visualize it. Figure 1 is like the baseline state, wavy space, wavy time, interwoven. Figure 2 shows expanded space waves, longer wavelength, lower frequency. And that corresponds to compressed time waves, shorter wavelength, higher frequency, faster time.
Okay.
Then figure 3, the crucial one for the machine, compressed space waves, short wavelength, high frequency. And that leads to elongated time waves, long wavelength, low frequency.
Which means slower time dilation.
Exactly. So in strong gravity, where this model says space is compressed, time slows down. It fits the picture.
Okay. Now the patent then mentions something unexpected. The story of the 7 sleepers. How does that fit in? Seems like a bit of a leap.
It is definitely one of the more, let's say, illustrative examples the inventor uses. It's presented within their framework, not as hard science,
Right, okay, so what's the connection they're making?
They suggest that maybe the cave where the 7 sleepers supposedly slept for centuries without aging, maybe that cave wasn't just, magical.
Yeah.
Maybe the space-time inside the cave was different, compressed somehow, according to this theory.
So time inside the cave would have passed much, much slower than outside.
That's the speculation presented in the patent, yeah. A localized time dilation effect caused by unusual space-time conditions.
Wow. And they take it further with Planck clocks, or dark clocks.
Yeah, this is another layer. The idea is that all matter contains these fundamental internal clocks, tiny timekeepers.
Within us. Within everything.
Within everything. And these clocks are constantly influenced, sort of waved by the local space-time they're in.
How does that work?
The analogy they use is putting your hand out of a moving car window. You feel the air flowing past, right?
Sure.
Well, as the Earth moves through space, maybe there's a similar flow of space-time interacting with these dark clocks in our bodies in everything. Maybe moving faster means space-time feels slightly more compressed to these clocks, making them tick differently.
So our own internal clocks are tied to the space-time we move through.
Yeah.
It's a wild idea. There's another analogy too, right? With a pendulum clock.
Yes, that helps visualize it too. Imagine a pendulum clock swinging side to side, but the whole clock is also moving horizontally across a wall. And the pendulum has a pen on it drawing on the wall as it moves.
It would draw a wave, right?
Exactly. The shape of that wave, its length, its frequency, depends on how fast the pendulum swings and how fast the whole clock moves across the wall.
So movement through space affects the observed time pattern.
That's the idea. And the inventor suggests, just like shaking the wall could affect the pendulum swing, maybe different frequencies or states of the space-time waves an object passes through could affect how its internal clocks tick.
So motion and the local space-time environment could change our time rate. It's all building this interconnected picture.
Okay, what about mass? Why does mass seem to increase when things go really fast?
Another good question addressed by this framework. They go back to the hand out the window analogy.
Okay.
Faster you go, the more air resistance you feel. If you had a scale on your hand, it might even register more weight because the air is pushing back harder.
Right. The patent suggests something similar happens with space itself. At really high speeds, you're encountering and pushing through more and more of these fundamental space smallest quantum particles.
Like wading through thicker and thicker treacle.
Kind of. This resistance, this pushback from space, is what we perceive as the object's mass increasing.
And needing more energy to accelerate further.
Makes sense then, right? More resistance needs more energy. And this pushback is also suggested to cause the object to flatten a bit in the direction of motion.
Length contraction.
And connecting back, the time dimension elongates, time dilation. It all ties together in this model.
Okay, mind sufficiently bent. Let's get to the machine itself. The space compression time dilation machine. What are the key principles it relies on, according to the patent?
Right. It boils down to 3 core ideas. First, the main one we've discussed. Compress space and you dilate time.
Yep.
Second, the idea that really concentrated electromagnetic waves, specifically high-energy gamma rays, can actually curve or warp space.
Okay, energy warping space.
Yeah.
Like gravity does.
Exactly. And third, the established fact that electromagnetic fields, like strong magnetic fields, can also curve space-time.
So use energy and magnetism to warp space.
Pretty much. The patent uses analogies like the focused impact of a bullet versus a diffuse cloud of powder concentrated energy has more effect. Or compressed air pushing harder than a breeze.
Makes sense. Concentrated force.
And they even reference Einstein showing a link between magnetism and curved space.
So how does the proposed machine actually try to do this? What are the parts? It sounds incredibly complex.
Oh, it absolutely is. The design, the SCTD machine, has several key bits. First, you need sources emitting gamma rays, 6 of them.
6 gamma ray sources. Yeah.
Each beam then goes through sets of convex lenses to focus them really tightly.
Focusing the energy.
Right. These 6 focus beams are aimed to meet at a central point, basically forming the walls of a cube or maybe a cone made of pure gamma ray energy.
A gamma ray box. Wow.
And to make it even more intense, there are concave mirrors positioned to reflect the gamma rays back into that central zone, bounce them around, build up the concentration.
Okay, super concentrated gamma rays. What else?
Around this gamma ray box, you have 6 big magnet blocks.
Magnets. Powerful ones.
Presumably very powerful. And they're arranged, so they're similar poles, like north facing north, are all pointing inwards towards the center.
Repelling each other.
Naturally, yes. But then there's a hydraulic circuit. Think powerful pistons.
Ah, to push them together.
Exactly. To physically force these repelling magnets closer, compressing the magnetic field, and theoretically compressing the space-time inside that gamma ray enclosure.
So gamma rays create the initial warp, and squeezing the magnets enhances it.
That's the proposed mechanism. Plus, the whole setup is on adjustable bases.
Why adjustable?
To change the shape of the compressed zone, you could maybe squash it vertically while letting it expand sideways. The inventor suggests tweaking the shape can further boost the time dilation effect.
Fine-tuning the warp. And there's control unit.
Of course. An electronic brain to manage the gamma ray intensity, the hydraulic pressure on the magnets, the base adjustments, all based on how much time dilation you want and maybe the size of whatever you put inside.
Ambitious doesn't quite cover it, does it? Trying to build something like that. The engineering challenges must be immense. Controlling those gamma rays, the magnetic fields.
Absolutely enormous. We're talking about technology far beyond what we currently have, likely, but it's the theoretical design laid out in the patent.
So you create this intense zone of compressed space-time, like pinching the fabric of reality.
Yeah.
And time slows down inside.
That's the goal, yes. A localized bubble where time ticks slower.
Okay. If, and it's a massive if, but if this could be built, what uses does the patent imagine for it?
Well, the applications they list are pretty wide-ranging. Some seem almost mundane, others quite profound.
Like what?
Long-term preservation is a big one. Food, medicine, seeds. Imagine keeping them perfectly fresh for potentially centuries without aging or needing fridges.
That alone would be incredible. What else?
Scientific research. You could speed up or slow down time inside the gap. Run experiments that would normally take decades in just days, or slow down super-fast reactions to study them.
Wow, okay. That's transformative.
Then there's the idea of space-time gap ambulances. Put a critical patient inside, slow down time for them, and you have much longer to get them to surgery. Buy precious time.
Extending the golden hour indefinitely. Incredible. Any others?
Well, there are some more ethically complex ideas, like using it for long-term incarceration. Prisoners would experience less time passing.
Yeah, that raises questions.
And finally, secure storage, creating invisible space-time gaps to keep valuables safe long-term.
A whole spectrum of uses, from preserving food to potentially altering justice and security. It's quite something. And the patent lists all these parts and diagrams.
Yeah, there's a parts index numbering all the components, the gamma sources, lenses, magnets, hydraulics, everything.
And then the legal claims section, which defines what exactly the inventor considers their unique invention.
Precisely. That section specifies the exact combination of these elements. The focused gamma rays, the opposing magnets, the compression system, as the novel method for achieving this localized space compression and time dilation.
Right. So let's try and wrap our heads around this.
Yeah.
Summarize this deep dive. We looked at a 2013 patent proposing a machine.
A machine designed to squeeze space locally using intense gamma rays and magnetic fields.
And the whole idea hinges on this assumption that space and time are inherently wavy, and compressing one dimension affects the other.
Right. Compressing space leads to dilating or slowing down time within that region. It's a concept built on challenging standard views of gravity and time itself.
And if this kind of tech were ever possible, the consequences are just huge, aren't they?
Absolutely revolutionary for science, industry, society. Changing how we store things, do research, treat patients, even how we think about time and aging.
It really does make you think differently about time. Is it just this steady forward march we experience? Or is it something more malleable?
Could we actually one day learn to control its flow, not just in theory, but in practice?
A profound question to ponder. Definitely gives you something to think about. Thanks for breaking that down with me today.
My pleasure. It's fascinating stuff.